Welcome everyone back to the Minnesota Fringe Festival 20th Anniversary Webcast interview series. And right now we will be talking about the Bob McFadden era on stage. And I think the easiest way to kick this off is just go down the line, state your name and what your first Fringe show that you were involved with was.
Heidi Arneson, and God, if I can remember, I think it was Sex Secrets.
Yeah.
If it was 94.
Yeah.
Okay.
God, if I can remember would be a good title for a Fringe show.
Yes. My next one.
It's all about where you put the comma.
I'm Jeffrey Goodson, and my first show was called Sad or High Kickin', and it was a collection of original songs.
My name's Erica Chris, and I do not remember what we called our show, but Kirsten, Lynn, Seal, and I did 2 one-acts.
Was it The Secrets of Life and 2 Women Drinking?
Yes.
Well,
He's the man with the
Thank
notes.
you.
Hey!
Don't lean in.
Yeah. Hey, will you look over her shoulder at the notes and tell me what else I'm supposed to talk about?
They're funny and cheap.
Funny and cheap. That's going to be on your epitaph.
Yeah, it is.
All right.
I am Dane Stauffer, and I did a show with my frequent writing partner Beth Gilliland. It was called Shedding Light All Over Your Good Black Skirt.
Awesome.
And it was vignettes, which
Wow.
is just one step above a sketch. It's a little more, French.
Well, let me dive right in. I'd like to start off with you, Heidi, because I mainly know you through you're a venue manager for the People's Center Theater, which was one of the first Fringe Festival venues. I think it was one of the 5 venues in 1994. And when did you begin your relationship with them? When did that happen?
My relationship with the People's Center goes way, way back even
Yeah.
before that, because dances, when they had dances there in the gym. But 94, I think I was in that show.
Yeah.
Because I used that space a lot during that time. So Sex Secrets was just a bunch of little vignettes about childhood, playful, erotic exploration, and push people's buttons.
Because that's one thing I wanted to ask you is how has your experience as a Fringe producer affected how you work as a venue manager in terms of dealing with producers year round?
I'm very nice because I realize how much work it is, how hard it is, how exhausted people are, how stressed out they are, and how much of their own money they're putting into it, and what pennies they're maybe hopefully getting back.
No.
So I remember, this sets off a story, and shut me off if you need to.
Oh, I won't.
One Fringe, and I think it was 99, I was so exhausted because I was working, raising my daughter, writing, directing, performing, designing, costuming, sound designing the show, blah, blah, blah. And the Fringe is lovely because you don't get to do a show at 8 p.m. every day. You get to do one at 10:30 p.m. and then go to work the next day and then do one at 3 p.m. and then, so it's tiring. So I appreciate how hard people work, and let's see if I don't lose track. So I'm driving to work after doing a night show where I played 36 characters in grade school all by myself. So, and I'm so tired, and it's so hot, and I stop at a stop sign, and there's a car in front of me, and I'm so thirsty, I reach down for the jar of water on my filthy car floor. And I'm so tired, my foot goes off the brake, and I bam into the car in front of me. And the middle-aged man gets out, and the elderly woman gets out, I assume his mother. My neck, were you on your cell phone? And I said, oh, I'm so sorry, I don't have a cell phone. And the son sees that the car's fine, and he says, it's okay, Mom. And she goes, oh, okay, well, have a nice day. So I appreciate how hard people work, and I think the audience sees about this much of how much work goes into a show.
Yeah. Well, let me kick that over to you, because I primarily know you through Cheap Theater and through the monthly storytelling showcase that you do there. But in my research, when I was going through your shows and show descriptions, it looks like you've also done a mix of storytelling showcases and more traditional sort of plays that you've presented at the Fringe.
Yeah. I mean, the thing about the Fringe is you can't make money if you promise to pay other people.
Yeah.
So you, I think, give up on plays pretty quickly. You know, you try it a couple of times, but if there's just, you know, it is something for writing, directing, producing, performing, you know, all yourself. That's a perfect way to do the Fringe, and actually maybe make, you know, $28 or something when all is said and done. But if you promise you're going to pay people, then there's no hope of that. I mean, really, it's.
I always promise I'll think about paying.
Yeah.
I can
See,
absolutely
I
guarantee.
always made the mistake of saying, oh yeah. And it's, I mean, you know, as Heidi said, audience sees so little of the work that goes into it, and they don't care either. I mean, that's the other thing, is that, you know, we go, oh, it's so hard, oh, you know, people don't care. I mean, so I think the great thing about the Fringe is that so many of the shows are not that well polished, and you see that, you know, see that work. You know, you see people up there kind of sweating it out, like, can I remember my lines, or is this, you know?
One thing that strikes me is that what is a successful marketing scheme at the Fringe Festival is not necessarily a successful marketing scheme at any other time of year. I don't know if anyone has any grand insight on that. I know all of you have done shows at different times.
Well, we learned a valuable lesson last year when we decided to do a Fringe show. So, well, what are we going to do for the Fringe show? And my writing partner said, well, whatever we do, we need to do zombies. And that wouldn't necessarily work any other time of the year, but it's like zombies, the Fringe, absolutely. And we had
because it would be just kitschy.
We had great crowds. And I'm sure half of them were there just because they said, oh, there's zombies in the show.
Which show was this?
Shakespeare Ate My Brain. Okay, and it was zombies doing Shakespeare.
But that's one thing I wanted to ask, because again, if, all of us have worked year round, but you've had a lot of experience at a lot of different kinds of venues as a performer, and I mean, that's one thing that struck me when I was looking at Sad or High Kick-In with your show description as essentially a song cabaret.
Yeah.
Doing was I mean, was this a show that existed before the Fringe, or was this a show that came into existence because of the Fringe?
It was put together because of the Fringe. I had been writing songs for a number of years, and I had this whole group of songs that I had never performed publicly before, and I just sort of heard about the Fringe right toward the deadline to apply. And this first year, and thought, well, I've got some stuff, and it sounds like it could be a cool idea without a whole lot of pressure. And I don't have to. If I do it all myself, then I'll just go out there and sing. And I got a slot, and it was like, okay, then I'll do this one, and then this one, and then this one, and then this, and it was like, okay, yeah, it was pretty easy.
Because Dane, you're pretty much the opposite. And in my research, the like when I found your 1994 show description, it was almost entirely press quotes.
Yeah.
Assuming that
we actually, some of the material we started doing back in the old Ruby's Cabaret days.
Yeah.
In 1989, and then we put a show together, and first did it at the Jungle Theater, late night, and then we did it at the Brave New Workshop. We'd been refining it, and Bob called us and asked us and said, you know, and I'd heard of the Fringe in Edinburgh, and because I'd had friends who did stuff at the festival, and so he invited us to do it, and we thought, why not, you know? And so we threw our hat in the ring, and we got a slot, and we pounded the pavement and handed out our postcards, and I think one of the things, we were talking about this before, that it was about 5 years before this started, was when it seemed like suddenly, you know, the Southern and the Walker was doing the Out There Festival, and the Overtone series and Patrick's Cabaret had opened, and suddenly there was this sort of alternative universe that was starting to spring up, that was giving people an alternative to do their own work as opposed to trying to get it through a grant or into an existing venue. And so this just seemed like another, let's see what happens, let's do it and
So, question for the table then. Let me do the alternative history thought experiment. If the Minnesota Fringe Festival had never existed, 1994 onwards, how would your life/career look different at this point, or not look different?
Not.
No,
Because there's so many other venues in
Yeah,
town.
well, that's where the thought experiment sort of falls apart. Because I mean, one thing I wanted to ask you about was because certainly the Fringe was my way into the storytelling scene, and now I identify as a storyteller. Now and there was a storytelling scene before, and there will be one without the Fringe, but that was the place that I plugged into it, and that I think a number of other storytellers did. I don't know if you have any thoughts about how the scene has evolved alongside, with or without the festival.
Yeah, I think the Fringe Festival helped it along quite a bit for a couple of reasons. One is that it just created some structure, that you had this amount of time to fill, you got a slot, it's a show, then it's real, it's not just like, oh, go to this thing at this coffee shop that these people are doing, it'll be really great, it's like, no, this is a real show, because it's in the Fringe Festival. And then the other thing is it got younger people into it, which you're a good case in point of that, and the storytelling community for a long time was really traditional kind of old school storytellers, and so any of that story slam stuff, the slam poetry, the more solo performance, not exactly storytelling but maybe longer form, that was the way in for a lot of those people was the Fringe Festival, rather than some of the existing storytelling venues.
Yeah, I remember. I want to give a nod to how long has Balls been going on?
Oh, at least 20 years.
Because that's
no, but I mean,
that's
to
me that Leslie started. That was also that was also one of the things that I think seeded a lot of this. Because people were like, let's put together a little 3-minute thing, and hey, people liked us. What if we did 10 minutes? Let's do it, and then where do we go? How do we grow?
Tall Tales Cafe, Coffee Gallery.
Right, and Lauren Nemi was doing Two Chairs Telling, which was a traditional.
Which he's still doing.
Yes,
Right, but there was back then it was like a traditional storyteller with
Right.
some of us who were kind of like coming from another world, but also considered ourselves storytellers. We'd never done storytelling.
That's
in that
such
way.
I wish I thought to research it, but it sounds like Balls Cabaret sort of came into existence at around the same time.
It was another one of those things that was starting that was an alternative to the more.
May have predated it by a year or two.
I think it did, yeah.
And Patrick's Cabaret.
And Patrick's Cabaret.
But
and
still,
what Lauren was
that's a 5-year
doing,
period.
late night at the jungle, late night jungle things. There was just, but I think it exposed, and the Walker in conjunction with the Southern Theater, what the Southern Theater was doing. But I think it demonstrated that, at least for the performers, there was a voracious desire for venues and stage time, especially for people who weren't necessarily putting something out that was right up some existing theater's alley.
And I actually came from a different region of the country about 22 years ago. I lived in Atlanta for a number of years. And one of the things that struck me about the Twin Cities when I moved up here was the amount of original material that happens up here, and it's been happening up here since even before I got here, compared to other areas of the country. There's a thriving theater scene in Atlanta, but it's not the same kind of thing. It's much more established theaters and established shows, and this new one from New York. Well, we're going to.
The other thing that happens here a lot, that I mean, I've now been on the West Coast for 15 years, and it is the cross-pollinating. We're a ballet company and we're going to use this rock band, or this storyteller is going to be working with a dancer, or this cellist is going to be doing something with that people who would be atomized in different worlds in a place like New York where it's market-driven. I remember Lee Brewer came here from Abu Mines and gave a talk, and he said, this is the only art town in the country as far as I'm concerned. Every other city is either bigger and it has to be driven by the market. Like if no one's coming to your show, you close. And
we don't ask for permission. We don't wait to get permission. We just do it.
We just do it.
Well, if there's a major concluding point I'm hearing, it sounds like the Fringe Festival was both a cause and symptom of so many things that
It was inevitable.
It was the
in a way.
manifestation.
Yeah.
It's like, it was inevitable.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
All right,
And
great.
Bob
Yeah.
took it on, and it was too much for one person.
I think that's about our time. This has been so great. But thank you guys so much for sharing this. And that's this webcast. So please stay tuned. I believe the next one we will be talking to Dean Seal and some members of his team. So please stick around for that. Thank you.